it always happens where we're stopped somewhere and it's like after like, something like kind of gnarly or like a challenging part of the ride, and you'll just hear in the distance like this like low scooter like motor sound, and all of a sudden you'll see this old lady or like a little girl like coming from school, or like someone on a scooter like just riding through the stuff you just rode through on like your dirt bike with big knobby tires, and you're wearing all this gear, and they come riding by and they're smiling and waving at you, and then people,
Sawadee
you'll get humbled really quick.
Okay, Brandon Cretu. I'm super excited for us to finally get on a podcast together. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Eric. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Look, before we start, we've been trying to get this podcast kicking off for like at least a month, if not more, right? You're a super busy guy and you do a lot. And we're going to do a podcast last Friday, and then you told me you were at Road America and you were at an Airbnb, and we'll get to that in a second. The first thing I want to ask is, what was it like being at Road America when there was no crowd, there was no fans?
It was a little weird. Yeah, I mean, I'm not used to. I mean, it honestly reminded me kind of like, I don't know, a track day or a club race, because it was just, not in terms of like, obviously it's a professional event, but without any spectators there, it just seems it's like super low key, and there's not a whole lot of of excitement. It doesn't feel as exciting without spectators involved. So I think that's definitely something that's interesting when you think about, from a TV watching it. I watched, Live Plus races, and it doesn't look any different watching it that way, except you don't see some spectators on the hills and stuff. But yeah, definitely at the event, there's like I don't know, lack of kind of the same amount of excitement with people walking around and looking at everything, and yeah, it definitely loses a bit of its its excitement. But
Right.
I know hopefully they're allowed to have spectators. I mean, they say they will have spectators at the end of this month, so that's good.
Because you would think that motorcycle racing, with the way you watch an event, okay, a lot of tracks in Canada, for example, that I'm more familiar with, there's a lot of areas where you can walk to, you can go to, and you don't have to worry about being in close contact with anyone because the field is so big, right? You would think that you'd be at a safely social distance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think I mean, especially in the racing world, everyone just wants to get back to getting to the track and having events, and people want to watch MotoGP or World Superbike again and all that. And I don't know. I think it's gotten to the point now. Like, obviously, there's, you should be concerned and worry about other people. Your life is not, when you're out in public, like you have to take into account other people's lives and what they, you have to be respectful of other people's, space, obviously. So
Right.
taking that into account, I do think that, people are at the point now where you can say, okay, let's open up and let everyone make their own decision. Like people are adults. People are supposed to have freedom and be able to do what they want to do. And at some point, you do have to allow people to make their own decisions. Whether it's I want to open a business, and allow people in again, or I want to walk around and be able to go out and go to races or do whatever. And some people will say, well, I'm not ready for that, and they can stay home. So I think at some point you have to go back. You have to do that because you can't just close everything up forever. It's not feasible. It's not realistic. So I think there's definitely there's a line. There's a right way and a wrong way to go about it. But I think it's getting to that point now. I think everyone's just about had it.
Just about had it, yeah. I was telling this to, I was talking to a buddy of mine about it, and I said, you know what would just make sense? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful or be a jerk in any way, but what would make sense is you got a lot of guys, young people for sure, okay, including yourself, because I'm a lot older than you, I'm pretty sure. But you got the young guys who, look, if you don't volunteer for it, great, take a hotel, you have 100, 1,000 volunteers, whatever it is, and say, guys, we are going to get COVID on purpose. And you leave them in there until they're healed. And once they're healed, they have that immunity, bring them out. And and you guys can be the engine of the workforce, right? You guys can be, or girls can be the first people back. And I think I'm okay with that. Like, I flip flop just like you, right? I've got older parents, I've got in-laws. They're older and they're definitely high risk. So
Right.
I've been extra careful, even though in a lot of ways I'm like, we're gonna get it eventually. Like, let's just get it now and get it over and done with. You can't shut everything down forever and ever. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, you can't definitely can't shut down things forever. And even they had the Spanish flu, and it lasts. They had a couple different waves of, but it still only really affected the world for about a year or year and a half, and that was back when they didn't have the care they have now, and they didn't have everything. Obviously, they also didn't have the global travel and ability to travel as quickly as they do now. So a lot of
true.
different things, a lot of different things at play. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, who knows what the answer is? I feel I would not want to be a person in a public office right now. That's for sure. Because no matter what decision they make, it's not right. So
I agree with you.
yeah,
Uh, so I really want to get to this. You were at an Airbnb, and I think the last message you sent to me was like, I never realized it was going to be this Silence of the Lamb-ish. Now, I've stayed in some.
yeah. The people wound up actually being really really friendly, but it was like very like I just had I didn't even realize I don't when I book Airbnbs I don't know, I guess I'm weird. I don't even like look at anything about them, like whether I'm sharing a space, living space, or I'm like I just don't even care. I just book something and I figure it out when I get there. And it was kind of like that. Like I was there and like they were in a quiet room reading, and it was like super silent, and like I just felt kind of awkward, like going out and like getting on a podcast at 9 at night, like sitting there like in their living room with them while they're like reading really silently. And it was like an old country farm home that reminded. It was just like it was different. It was I don't know. That's why I like Airbnbs. They're always different. But they were like super gracious hosts, and I wound up talking to them for a while the next morning. But yeah, no, it was yeah. Airbnbs are always fun and interesting. That's why I always use them.
Yeah, because in my mind, I thought it was going to be like really dark, really damp, and they kept trying to get you to use lotion, right? Oh, your
Yeah.
skin's very dry. Have more lotion. You're like, what? Thanks, I guess. Is it hand sanitizer? No, no, it's just lotion.
Kept trying to like feed me stuff to like fatten me up and tell me to go in the basement. I don't know. It's weird.
And they kept pinching you, looking for body
Right.
fat, right? Oh, okay, that's 5% body fat. You're good. You're good. Okay, so the reason why originally I wanted you on the podcast is you used to race on Alaman TT.
Yeah.
And to me, that is the most absolutely bonkers thing a human can do voluntarily. Okay. Obviously, if you opt to serve in the military and you're Navy SEAL or something, obviously that's even more extreme. But you think about how, no one's putting a gun to your head and saying, okay, I need you to go 135 miles per hour, and there's a building, 4 feet away from you. And if
Yeah.
you crash, your chances of making it is no good. So what got you started in wanting to do it, and how addictive is it?
The only, I guess the right story was, I never even really heard about it. Like I got into motorcycles and I rode on the street for, when I was like 20. I didn't get my first bike till I was 19 or 20. And then I rode on the street for 2 years with like my buddies, and just did what anyone does usually when they get a street bike, and ride dangerously and just not using my head. And luckily I made it through those for those early years of motorcycling, and unscathed. And then I got into track like racing. I actually jumped right into racing. I didn't even do a track day. I just started racing, and just club racing, nothing special. And I was like average. I was never like anything. It was decent enough, but not like super super fast or great in my early like novice and expert years. And then I actually got in a car accident when I was 23, 22 or 23, and broke my neck in a car accident. And it was a really bad break. I broke my C1, and I was in a brace for like 4 months, and I was required to stay at home by my neurosurgeon. And just it was like a really shitty time. I mean, but I say that, but it could have been a lot worse. I could have been dead. So the thing about it, when you break your C1, is if you break it, usually you just die, because it's so high up on your spinal cord that like if it gets severed or cut, like it's not like you get paralyzed or anything, you just die.
Wow.
So like most doctors that I meet, or nurses, and they find out like that's what I broke. They're always like really surprised. It's really rare to break your C1 and not die. Yeah, it's just not very common. And I lucked out too because when it broke, there's a tendon inside your C1 that kind of holds it around your spinal cord, and that actually didn't rupture. Usually they break, and then you have to get spinal fusion, and then you lose all your mobility in your neck. And I didn't have to do. Luckily that tendon didn't break, and it kept the bones pulled together, and then they were able to heal for the most part. Like I still have some thin areas on it, but when it healed, I mean, the doctor told me never to even ride a bicycle again. And I was like, well, I'm not going to live my life like that. So I've in the past, I don't know how many years now, 10, 12 years since I broke it. I mean, I've tested my neck out plenty, and it's strong enough. I mean, if anything breaks it now, it's not because it's weak. It's not because the bones didn't heal right. It's just because that's meant to be. So, but yeah, when I was laid up for those months, I don't even know how I came across it. Just and having nothing else to do, and I came across the TT on YouTube, and I like just became like obsessed with it. Like I was like, it sounds like corny as hell, but it was like my calling. I like something just like drew me to it. So I just like made it my mission in life. Like in that period of my life, I just made it my mission, and I was like, I'm gonna race the TT. And I was like, I had no professional riding experience. I was like, I was nobody. Like I didn't have any. There was no reason for him to ever let me in. Like it was just one of those things that I told people that, and no one believed me. And then fast forward, 3 years after I got better, um, I guess it was I broke my neck in '07, and then '08 I went over to the TT to work for a team as a mechanic. Like I just went on and found like a forum online and just made a post and was like, hey, I just want to come over and see it and experience it and learn about it. Like anyone need an extra like a set of hands in the pits. And I wound up meeting a guy, and he invited me over to help out, and got to learn about everything and see it in person. And the following year I raced at the Ulster Grand Prix to kind of get my feet wet with like the real road racing world, and I had to like prove myself to get an entry to TT, because it's not like you can't just enter the TT. Like you have to submit an entry and then go through a selection panel of people that decide who they want to have and who they don't want to have. And over in recent years, I mean, it's gotten incredibly far more difficult to get into the TT than years past, because they have more high profile riders that want to do it. And and the average speeds are just like absolutely insane. Every year they get faster and faster. And yeah, I mean, now it's even when I was doing it, and up until that when I stopped, I mean, it's just PBS, no joke. Like the speeds that people are doing now, like yeah, it's insane. But yeah, it became my goal, and I did it. That's why when I tell people ask like, oh, like get asked for advice on racing, with racing, not necessarily like actual riding, but like if they have goals, things to do. And I say, well, I'm like the perfect example of someone who I saw something I wanted to do, and I just went out and did what I had to do to make it happen. And I think most people can do that. And I like have parents that supported me in it. They didn't even know what the TT was until I came back for my first TT. Like they had no idea like the extent of like what it really was until after I did my first TT. And then they were like, why are you what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And yeah, so I don't come from a family of like motorsports enthusiasts or parents that like supported my racing habits or career or anything. So I'm the perfect shining example of someone who can like turn nothing into something.
How do you train for it? Is there a way you can actually train for the TT? I mean, you obviously can't. You can't. Yes. You can't practice on it.
Right? I mean, you learn the track as far as like watching onboards or playing the video game. Like I played the video game until I was like the old PS2 game I played, and I played that till I was like almost like broke a PlayStation. I think I had it memorized, and then once I memorized that, after about like 4 or 5 months of playing it, I watched onboards, and I did everything I could do to be as prepared as I could, and then nothing really ever prepares you for like actually going and doing your first lap though. It's like it's an overwhelming experience, to ride it at speed. And yeah, I mean, nothing. That's all I really can do. I didn't really have the luxury of being able to go over there like for weeks or months beforehand and like drive the course in a car or anything. So I just did what I could to get ready for it. And just riding. I mean, yeah, I mean riding, like going out and riding on the street isn't going to prepare you for it. Like it's not like everyone. A lot of people, I think, up until recently, always thought, oh well, I go ride fast on the street, so I can go race the TT. No, it's not. The people that race the TT, especially the guys in front, I mean, they are like they're top level world class motorcycle racers. Like they're not just some guy that races, that rides on the tail of the dragon fast and suddenly they can go race the TT. Like it doesn't look like that. And you'd be surprised the amount of messages I used to get of people like. I remember one time someone actually sent me a video of them like racing on like some around the city, like on the beltway, like on the highway around the city, like at night, like passing cars and whatever. And they're like, I want to race the TT. Like, this is, for me from the other night. And I'm like, this isn't, no.
You're not going to go anywhere. Yeah. So
yeah,
it's funny you bring that up because I'm actually super embarrassing to say I'm one of those guys. I'm not saying that I think I could race the TT, but I'm one of those squids that, my buddies and I would go out at midnight, and we found this track in the city by the city limits, but it was a bunch of car dealerships all jam-packed into one area. But basically you could make a racetrack around, if you go on the perimeter of the buildings, it was like, I don't know, like a good 9 decent turns. There were a couple long sweeping turns. There was like a semi-chicane.
I mean, nothing wrong with that at all. It's just it's the difference between doing that and then like messaging me or another guy who races a TT and being like, hey, I think I'm ready. And I'm like, man, you just have no, I don't know, because people just have like a lack of, reality in that, they just don't understand, I guess, the level of commitment and everything else that it takes to do it. So, but yeah, that was, I did it from 2010 to 2016 was my last year there. So a total of 7 times that I went. And, it's, I miss it every day. I miss it every day. But it was time. I just decided it was, I had had enough.
Did you have any near misses?
Oh, and I had 2 bad crashes there. The one crash I wound up actually I didn't realize it until actually like a year or 2 ago that I had broken my back there because I found a doctor found that I had an old compression fracture in my T4 or T6. My upper back, and it's like once he said that, because my upper back had always given me problems since 2012, and that's when I crashed the TT. But when I had X-ray there at Noble's Hospital on the island, they said I didn't break anything. But I mean, I distinctly remember like the crash and how I felt afterwards, and I'm like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
But then they said they didn't see anything on X-ray. We'll come to find out like a year or 2 ago. Like I said, I had a chiropractor X-ray me again. He said, yeah, you have like an old compression fracture in your back. So that explains why I have like such horrible upper back issues. So yeah, between my upper back and my neck and I'm
falling apart.
I'm aging quickly. That's all I can say.
Jeez, I cannot believe the amount of discipline and willpower to go around buildings that quick. Like, I mean, again, you're right. I've ridden quick on the streets, allegedly. I've broken the speed limit a bunch of times, but being on the TT, I think that's a completely different thing.
Yeah, it's a gnarly place. There's once you do it, everything kind of loses a bit of its luster, I guess. There's not much there can really compare to it.
Right. So when did you start Rise Moto when you're importing Ohvale bikes?
So I started the business with my best friend, and I started the business technically in June of 2018, but we didn't start getting like bikes over and actually start selling until August, September-ish.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just it was actually after I had a little bit of time off because I was prior to that, for a couple years, I actually was racing full time and managing a team for a guy, Selby Jones, who I was working for, and he passed away, suddenly, and the kind of the rug got pulled out from myself and a lot of people involved with his his endeavors and what he was working on, and I was helping him with. And yeah, it was like a really rough time because I had left, like I'd worked, I mean, I used to have a normal full-time job, and had a good living, and had a 401k and retirement and all that stuff. And I left, follow my dream, continue following my dream and work for him. And I got to do some amazing things, go to some amazing places when I was working for him. I did Moto America for a season, and then I helped. We ran a world endurance team, and I got to race world endurance for like a season and a half. And I also helped manage Sheridan Marias and Renzo Ferrer when they were racing the World Championship. So Sheridan raced World Supersport, and Renzo raced the Supersport 300 class. And so I got to travel over and doing that. So it was like a really exciting time. It was busy, and I learned a lot and got to meet a lot of people. And then he passed away, and I was just kind of like in a situation where just trying to figure out what I was gonna do, because I'd left my job before that. I was there for about 7 years, so I had a fairly long-term career going before I left. And so it was a sudden change, and I had some time off, and I did just did odd jobs here and there to earn money in the meantime. And then I'd been following Ohvale for a little while on like social media, and so I was like aware of them.
Right.
And then is actually one of the factory riders for Yamaha on World Endurance, Marvin Fritz. He had bought an Ohvale, and I started asking him about it, and he was able to connect me with someone he knew that was a dealer for them. And then they connected me with Ohvale, in Italy, and I was able to secure a meeting with them. So I told them, I'm interested in bringing them into America, and apparently they had a lot of people ask them to take them into America before that, and they just were never in the right spot yet, and that didn't have the right person come to them. So they were, really slow to attack it. And I just went to them and I guess put my MBA to use, and showed them a good proposal, and they liked it. And they gave me an initial contract just for a year, just to kind of see how I'd do. And obviously, here we are.
Yeah. So now you're involved. Is it officially with Moto America? You guys have racing series now, right?
Yeah. So we're I mean, it's still, at the end of the day, it's Moto America's series. I just help kind of like in a consultative type way. Like I'll be at all the races, and I'm going to help kind of help them oversee the event, because it is a very new thing for them. We held our event last year at the Moto America race at Pittsburgh. We called it the Ohvale Talent Cup, it was basically like a one-off event where we had 2 classes, 16 kids in one class, 10 in the other. And just to kind of like, the whole goal of that race was to show America and show Moto America and racers and fans like what this can be, like what we can make in America, and how we can improve racing and give kids like a structured environment to proceed, to go through road racing, which we've never had. Like we've always had mini racing, and I don't want to take, I guess I never like to say that without like giving credit to all the mini racing orgs in the country. Like there's a lot of mini racing orgs that give kids the opportunity to get on track, and they put them through good schools and everything. But we still lacked like the proper structured progression of like a mini like GP or mini sport bike chassis to get kids up through like to the junior cup, to the point where we have the same type of feeding ground of young racers like Spain and Italy and everywhere else does. I mean, there's no reason we shouldn't, considering America's like the strongest economy in the world, and we have plenty of people here who want to ride motorcycles. So I don't have any doubt that we can be as strong or have as as deep of a talent pool. It just takes the work to create the opportunities and create, give people kind of what they want. Even if they don't know they want it right away, then people come around. So like I had to come with the Ohvales, and it's not been like an easy upward trend. It's been like a battle every way because people, it's a new type of bike. It's not something that was really common in America, like these little mini GP bikes, and it's just yeah, it's been an uphill battle and trying to get people to realize that this is the way forward. And but it's been good. It's been luckily I have a lot of good partners and a lot of good people that have been helping me, and yeah, it's been a good ride.
Yeah, I'll be the first to raise up my hand to say I knew nothing about Ohvale until I started doing this podcast. So it's about 3 months ago when I first saw what they look like, and the first thing I realized is, man, they look legit. They look good. Now, dumb question: are they street bikes? Can you ride them on the streets? Or are
No,
they
they're
track
not.
bike only?
They're not street legal. We do have a company down in Tennessee who they're into like small bore motorcycles like Groms and all kinds of like small bikes like that. And they actually have one of our bikes, and it's been a project bike of theirs for a while. It's called Man in the Box. They're like a really popular like small bore. Like they sell parts for Groms and all that stuff online.
Okay.
They're actually building an Ohvale street bike right now. As a project that I kind of went in on them with. Just we might be doing some cool content with it and stuff, but I don't get involved with anything like that. I mean, I know they're considering making like a street legal like kit, but there's a lot that goes into that, like with people being able to get them titled and then get them registered for the street, and it's just it's something I can't get my hands in, but there is a lot of interest. But from my end, it's not something I get involved in.
Okay, so let's say I'm a young dad with kids and I want to get them into racing. Uh, what is the cost of entry if I bought an Ohvale bike? How much that
So
cost?
yeah, I mean the base models like the 110 automatic or the 110 4 speed, which are the two like main base models, is starts at 46.99 and 51.99. And I mean they're pretty much ready to go out of the box. I mean the only thing you really need to do beyond getting the bike is get different the softer springs for the kids.
Hmm.
That adds about $200 on the price tag or so, and then you're good to go really after that. I mean you don't really need to buy anything else for them. They're race ready out of the box with their suspension and exhaust. There's nothing to be done, which I think is a welcome change for parents who are getting their kids into it. That maybe not be like they're not mechanically inclined, or
Yeah.
they don't like to fabricate stuff or whatever. Because a lot of the other people, when they bought little dirt bikes that would convert them to supermoto setups, like you have to go look for, like, I gotta buy bars, I gotta buy wheels and different brakes and do this and that, and it's like it's such a pain in the ass, honestly.
Yeah.
And for parents, it's like a lot of people, like, you have to go online and do all this research, what works the best and what wheels do I need, and what, like, it's just not, it's not the right way forward for a structured, like, proper race environment for kids to come up through in road racing. It's not.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
when I defer to this a lot, and I think some people get it, other people don't. But when you see a bunch of when you see kids or adults riding on these bikes on the track, like, it looks cool. Whereas,
Yeah.
like, if you see a bunch of kids riding around on like CR like 110s, like whether they're Hondas or Yamahas or Kawasaki's or whatever, like dirt bikes on street tires, it just doesn't give you the same, like,
I hear
I
you.
don't I
No, no,
don't know how to say
yeah,
it. Like,
I
I would
100%
say
agree.
it's not sexy. Like Ohvales and riding, seeing them on track, like, has like some it's like
Yeah.
they're sexy bikes, like they're cool,
Proper
they're
sport bikes.
nice to look at, yeah, and they look cool. Whereas other bikes, unfortunately, they don't. It's they're, I mean, don't get me wrong. I trained on a CRF 150R for 7 years while I was racing the TT and doing all the racing I was doing, and I totally get it. Like, they're great training tools. They work. They're not
Yeah.
bad, but they're not the way to create and cultivate a new generation of racers and to create a structured environment for them to grow in. That's not the way forward. And I think over the past 2 years since introducing Ohvale, I think we've kind of proven that. I think it's just going to take more time. I think people do see, like, okay, this is in Moto America. It is kind of proven, because they wouldn't have taken on this if it wasn't, they didn't see a potential in it, like that it is the right way forward. And obviously, like, Dorna who owns MotoGP, like they're supportive of the whole project because they're really involved with it with Ohvale in Italy and Europe. So that shows you like, okay, this is the way forward. So it's just going to take more time, and getting more bikes out there. And that was one of our biggest problems at first. Is people wanted to get the bikes, but then they want people to race against. And putting the bikes out there with these converted dirt bikes isn't what Ohvales were meant to do. They're not meant to race against a 150R or a TTR 125. Like they're meant to race against their Ohvales. So that was like that took some time, like getting enough bikes out there where people had people to race with, and that's that's a big part of it. And Ohvales are exponentially more fun when you're out there with a bunch of people on Ohvales and battling back and forth. Like it just becomes way more fun. So yeah, it's been, I think, well received. I would say, yeah, it's been a good reception. In the 2 years we've been doing it, we've done, we sold quite a few bikes, and yeah, things are just keep growing. We have new stuff coming out, and yeah, I'm certainly not complaining. It's just a lot of work, and I honestly didn't expect it to go this to expand this fast and be this busy. I have another job that I do too, part time, and like Ohvale, I have not earned a dime out of this business in 2 years. I think there's a lot of misconception from people that people, and I've heard talk here and there. People think I'm like getting rich because I'm selling a $7,000 bike, but it's there's not much margin in them, and everything I've made that the business has made, I've put right back into expanding and creating opportunities for these series like the Mini Cup, because without me reinvesting, none of that would happen. And it's just one of those that I just have to, it's one of those, I can't pay myself because I have to do that, or else there wouldn't be a future for the business.
Well, I respect that a lot, because successful people, that's some of the traits of success, okay, is that they grind and they just do it, regardless of what the near future outcome may be. Obviously, you have a long-term goal. You're an MBA guy. I don't have to tell you, but you have a long-term goal and you have an exit strategy and all that other good stuff. But what I find winners to be are the guys who just doesn't quit. They just don't know how to quit. They go, look, I know where the path is. I know what I'm supposed to do, and I'm just going to keep doing it until either I can't do it for X, Y, Z reasons, or I succeed. It's either
right.
or. And again, extreme business owners, winners, is the type of guy who goes, I'm not here to get rich. If I make some money, great. If I make a lot of money, great. But guess what? 95% of that goes back to the business anyway. Yeah. Because I want to see it even get bigger and bigger. It's almost like a drug.
It is a little bit. I mean, it does kind of like I really. I mean, at some point, like I do, I have some weeks I put 40, 60. Like I put a lot of time into it. So at some point I'm like, yeah, it would be nice to like earn a little bit of money. But I mean, that's why I always have other irons in the fire and doing other things, because I think that's important, especially when you're like an entrepreneur, self-employed. Is I don't like to have all my eggs in one basket. My best friend who started the business with me, he's the same way. So we both have our own things going on, and yeah, it's been. But your point, you have to have the long-term goal in mind when you make the decisions, because if I just stayed short term and I thought of it like, okay, well, I just, here's a bike, I need to make X amount from this bike, and that's what I'm using to pay my mortgage this month or whatever, then yeah, we wouldn't be where we're at right now, like without a doubt. I wouldn't have, the event we ran at the Talent Cup last year, I wound up losing maybe a little bit of money, but it was mostly a wash. But I mean, the upfront cost to do that event was over 6 figures.
Wow.
Like, because we supplied all the bikes. We supplied 16 bikes that people paid. It was a high entry fee, but your bike was included. You had tools, you had a canopy, everything was included.
Wow.
And so we had to upfront, pay for upfront like 16 bikes, all these toolboxes, tools, canopies, track rental, all the prizes that we gave away, everything we paid for up front. And, so it was a huge risk, to go and do that with like the idea, like, I hope Moto America likes this and then we can take it to a series next year. And even though then I know that the series, me being involved with the series on my first year, I'm still not going to make any money because it's just starting, you know. So it's like it's this long, like it's not a 1 year, 2 year, it's a 3 to 5 year like idea. Like okay, the business has to get here before I can, you know, even think about taking making anything out of it. And now we're just building. We're just now getting to build like a nice e-commerce website where I can automate, like people can go on and just click and buy stuff. Where up until now I've been doing all that myself because like we didn't have $5,000 to $10,000 to invest in a website. So I spend hours a day just doing like
paperwork and processing.
It sounds bad to say bullshit, but it's just like it's important bullshit. But it's so at the end of the day, like I shouldn't be sitting here doing a quote for a handlebar and a foot peg. Like that should be something that someone can just go online and buy.
Right.
So but unfortunately, with anything, it takes money to make money, and that was when we were doing all this in the first year and a half, like $5,000 wasn't something I had to go and do that. So it's now we're finally getting around to that, and as we grow more, I think it'll make the customer experience will get better. I'm the only guy, like I'm doing everything. Like my best friend who started the business with me, he's like more of a silent partner because he has his own stuff going on. So financially, we went on it half and half, but manpower wise, like it's all except for at events where he flies out to work with me. It's all me 100%. So I think a lot of people don't know that either. They think oh well he's got an Amazon warehouse below his office. He has everyone pack his orders, and
Right.
he has someone handling his social media and someone handling, like no, it's all I do. I unfortunately do it all.
Yeah, no, I don't know if you know who Jocko Willink is. He's like a motivational speaker, ex Navy SEAL. He's done TED Talk. He's a pretty inspirational guy.
Yeah.
Jocko Willink, Jacko.
Yeah, I've heard him on. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah, a couple of times. Yeah. And I just watched a video, and a lot of the things that he said in that video about how to become successful, it's kind of what you're telling me. The ability to say, sure, it's only me, and yeah, I gotta do a quote for this stuff I don't want to do. Handlebar or clips or whatever. But part of the formula for success is to be able to just do what needs to be done in order to get it done, right?
Yeah.
So
And same thing like the mini cup this year. Like I'm going to every event, and I'm doing a lot of things that it's probably not my responsibility or my job to do, but like I know that things need done. And Motor America obviously has a ton on their plate right now with dealing with the pandemic and figuring out how to even have a race. So I've been trying to do everything I can to make sure that the mini cup goes off well, and I think it'll be a really good addition to Moto America, and I think they're excited about it, but I think they'll be more excited about it once we have an event. I think everyone when they see it, because I went to Road America and saw the track. The track is amazing. The kart track there is awesome, and I think we have I don't have the exact numbers yet from the lady who does registration with Moto America, but I have a pretty good idea that we'll have about at least 15 entries in each class.
Wow.
Except the adult. We have an adult 190 class. That's the only one that's a little up in the air. Like I don't know how many we're going to have in that, but all the youth classes, we have the 110, 160, and 190 class. We'll have, I think the 110 class may have between 10 and 15 riders, but the 160 and 190 class, I think we may even have close to 20 riders in each class.
What do these numbers represent?
The 110, 160, and 190 means like the CC, the engine size.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Like the 110 is like the base. We don't have a 110 automatic class. They haven't gotten that popular in the U.S. yet. They're really popular in Europe as like a starter bike. Like once kids get off like a little 50cc motorcycle, they'll jump on the 110, and it doesn't have any gears, so it's just brake, front brake, rear brake, and gas. So it allows you to focus on the riding as opposed to learning how to shift gears and do the clutch and all that. But that's not taken off too much here in the U.S., and it hasn't been like a big focus of mine to push that quite yet. I think that'll maybe come as the years go on, but all the other bikes have definitely taken hold, and people see them as the right way forward when their kids are ready to make that jump. And it'll just, as we keep growing it, I think it'll just start compounding and snowballing, and really help everything grow. It just takes a lot of upfront work, and then it just takes then it's almost like a waiting game more than anything.
Yeah. What is the race format like? How many laps? How many races you're doing a year?
So this year that we have the mini cup at 3 rounds, which it's Road America, Pittsburgh, and the new race at the Ridge, which is up near Seattle.
Okay.
Um, I we have practice on Friday, and then our events are on Saturday. So the idea behind that was they have practice and qualifying all day Saturday, and then Saturday evening we have the races. That way, like after all the Moto America guys are done with their day on Saturday, they all can come and watch the mini cup.
Makes sense.
That's how we did it at the Talent Cup last year. We had our event on the Saturday, and we had our races Saturday evening, and that was my idea behind it. Was like I want a way to have these events. Well, but I felt like all the teams and management of Moto America, like they obviously have things going on,
Yeah.
and fans that are there they want to go and watch the big races, not like the mini races. But this allows everyone to see everything. It allows one that came to watch the big bikes to come walk over to the kart track and watch these kids race, and allows the Moto America officials and industry people, other racers to come and watch the event. Like in the Pittsburgh last year, that format worked really well, and we had probably 1,000 people lining the fence at Pittsburgh to watch to watch our race there.
Wow.
So it was just I think that worked. That format worked really well, and it gave the kids some exposure. I think it's important for people that are involved with Moto America, whether it's the racers or officials or mechanics or fans or anyone, to come over and watch these kids at these events, because if anyone wants the sport to kind of grow, you have to go over and nurture that. And if people don't go over and watch it, you're almost kicking the sport you love, kind of you're not helping it.
You're not helping it, yeah.
You're not doing anything to help it. Whereas I think so I think it's super important that everyone involved in the series, like I said, whether you're a racer, mechanic, or whatever, come over in the evening. That's why we did it. You're winding down your evening. Sure, you might have some work to do or dinner to eat or whatever, but you take an hour out of your evening to come over and watch the races of these. These are the future of the sport, and these are the people that are going to come and help kind of the sport keep growing, instead of just gradually going into nothing.
Is there a couple of guys or a bunch of people you can think off the top of your head that we should be watching for, because you really think they're up and coming and they're going to be the next generation of fast guys or girls?
Yeah, there's some talented kids for sure, and I think there's going to be quite a few this year to really watch for in the 160 and 190 classes. And we have some teams coming out, like American Racing Team, who fields Joe Roberts in Moto 2. They're sponsoring and fielding four different kids in the races this year. They have Kaylee Yakov, Travis Horn, Julian Correa, and Jesse Shedden, and they're from all over California, Florida, Pennsylvania. They're from all over. They're all super talented. Then we have Forza GP, which is actually my dealer out of Pacific Northwest. He is fielding Rossi Moore and Eli Banish. Rossi is super talented, and he won the Talent Cup last year, and he's definitely going to be he's definitely set the bar as far as performance, because he's been racing Ohvales in Europe, and he has a lot of experience. He's only 12 years old, but he's got a lot of experience. So yeah, there's definitely some kids to watch. I think that it'll be an interesting season though, for sure. I think there could be some surprises and kids that come out of nowhere and do really well, because there's kids that are racing that I've never seen race or never raced against these other kids that are coming out. So and at the track like Road America, I don't think any kids in America have ever really ridden a kart track like that. It's got tons of elevation. It's not like most kart tracks that people are used to, where they're flat and kind of short and boring. This is it's a proper track. So I think, and I think there's only one kid who's had a chance to ride it, because it's not not a popular area for mini-moto, and it's kind of far away from people. So it's going to be a brand new track for 99% of the kids going to it. So it's going to really who can learn the track fast, who can get their bike set up, well, fast. There's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah, it's crazy how you're telling me that Rossi, who's 12 years old, it's somebody up and coming. I remember when I was 12, dude. We had before we had started the podcast. I told you that I lived out in the sticks, right? I lived in the
Yeah.
suburbs, not really sticks, but in the suburbs of Toronto. And I remember like coming back out to Toronto when I was 13. Okay, and the lifestyle difference between growing up in the suburbs and grew up in the city, I was living near, like, we were in the inner city. We were in the poor part of town, right? So I remember I was 13. I was rolling down this hill like a log and having the most fun in the world. And then these kids started picking on me. They're like, "What the hell are you doing?" That's what a 4-year-old would do. So when you're telling me that, oh yeah, this guy Rossi's really, really fast, blah, 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 and he's 12, and I'm like, oh my God, like, what were you doing when you were 12? You know what I mean?
Yeah, when I was 12, I was like, I think I was playing with Nintendo, and like playing with sticks outside. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting now, obviously I've done a lot and been all over the world, and, but yeah, I can't imagine, doing all that when I was like that age. I didn't start doing any of that till I was in like my mid 20s, so it's, I do, there is a part of me that I'm super, envious of all these kids that get to do this. They're lucky, and I think that, there are a lot of, I would say 99% of the kids are super, thankful for what they get to do, and they're really, really nice kids, and all the families are really nice. And I think it's cool, and I'm glad, like I'm excited to be a part of like that, and kids getting these really cool opportunities. And it's just the way of the world now. All these kids in any sport start off super young.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think it's cool, and it's cool to be somehow involved in that, in that development.
Yeah, I know that you traveled, and you said so during the podcast. You've traveled all over the place, and from what I understand, is one of the favorite places that you go to, and that you're actually a tour guide for, is Thailand.
Yeah. So my best friend and I, who started Rise Moto, we actually also, I mean, when I used to race in Macau, like all the teams and riders a lot would go to Thailand every year, for our like holiday after Macau for a couple weeks. And I used to go there with them, and started, first is, my first couple years in Macau, we used to go down, to Phuket, and, Pattaya and Bangkok and the southern areas, and go to the beaches and bars, and, get drunk and do nothing productive. And,
Right.
and she, like, after 2 years of that, I was like, okay, let me check out what else, this country has to offer, because I was like super interested in Thailand and the culture and the people. And so I started going up north, and I heard there was like good motorcycle riding up there. And come to find out, I mean, it's some of the best riding in the world. Like, the road riding is some of the best in the world. And then fast forward to quite a few years later, and we started doing, we got introduced to the off-road riding of northern Thailand, and it's just unbelievable. And there's nothing really like it that I've got to experience, because like you can just ride, you'll be riding anywhere, in northern Thailand, and you'll see a trail off the side of the road, and you just go ride it. Like, you don't have to be like, and where I live, if I'm riding down the road and I see a trail, and I can't go ride it because it's not my property. And if
Right.
you do get caught and someone finds you there, like, you'll get, called, the cops called on you, or gun will get pulled on you, or whatever. So it's, I know they have places like that out in, out west to a certain extent, but it's not the same feeling. Like, it's really hard to explain. Like, everyone we've had out on our off-road tours in Thailand, they all say the same thing. They're just like kind of in awe about like the whole experience, because it's not just the riding. It's like, we'll go out and be 4 hours away from anything, and you'll be in like the mountains of Thailand, and just come across like a couple of huts with people living there and living their lives. And they think it's cool as shit that you're there, and they love, they're coming out and taking pictures with you, and checking out, just seeing what's going on. And to them, this is like a unique, weird experience to have a bunch of foreigners on dirt bikes come by.
Right.
It's just I think it exposes people to, like, there's this is the way some people live, and like they're totally happy. Like, you meet them, and they're some of the happiest people in the world. So that's another, like, it's cool to take people and kind of introduce them to like a, something totally different than what they're used to.
Yeah, like, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, it's just, my best friend lived over there, and he was an English teacher for 2 years after he was in the military. So he was able to, he made a lot of friends in northern Thailand when he lived there, and I had quite a few friends there, and just over the years at first we started taking friends as like just like, hey, you guys want to go ride with us, like you can come along and we'll like organize some hotels and organize the bikes, and eventually someone one day like suggested like, why don't you guys start tours? And we were like, I don't know. And then I just convinced him like, hey, we should do this. And we just started it. We did one the first year, like, a paying, first group of paying people. And we charged them like nothing because we told them like, look, we've never done this before. So you're our guinea pigs. And then, it just grew after that. And like, this past year we had a total of like, I think like 5 tours total.
Wow.
And then we had one tour in the beginning of February, right before the shutdown, and we actually like people got home just before everything shut down.
Yeah.
And it was a private tour and we had like 19 people on the tour, so it was pretty big tour. So yeah, it's been really like well received. Everyone, we have rave reviews on it. People love the whole experience. Everything that we do is it's geared towards the experience, not just ride. Like I say it's like 50% riding and 50% like Thailand and the experience, and kind of hearing Brian and I make fun of each other for a week straight, and it's just we have a good time with all of our guests for sure.
Yeah, I think Thailand is also one of my favorite places now. I haven't been there. The last time I went to Thailand, my only time I've been to Thailand, it was about 10 years ago now. Wow, it's really been 10 years. So it's been a while, but
it's a different place from 10 years ago for sure.
yeah, but even then, I mean, the stereotypes, it's true, right? You get one family of 5 on a little scooter, right? Grandma's driving in the front, mommy's in the back. She's holding on 2 babies, and there's literally a little child standing on the running boards. I mean, that's literally a thing, and it's like very common there.
We always do people when they come on our off-road tour, and it's like we're like, okay, if you're on a trail and you're like, it seems tough, or you're getting you're struggling, we're like, just remember that an old Thai woman on a scooter does this trail every day, like riding from her village to into the town or wherever. And everyone always kind of looks at us like we say that in like a rider's briefing before the start of the tour, and everyone like they kind of like joke and laugh it off. And every tour we've ever been on off road, it doesn't never it always happens where we're stopped somewhere, and it's like after like something like kind of gnarly or like a challenging part of the ride, and you'll just hear in the distance like this like low scooter like motor sound, and all of a sudden you'll see this old lady or like little girl like coming from school, or like someone on a scooter like just riding through the stuff you just rode through on like your dirt bike with big knobby tires, and you're wearing all this gear, and they come riding by. They're smiling and waving at you, and then you'll get humbled really quick, and everyone does. They're like, "What the hell?" They're like struggling. They're struggling to ride this stuff, and it's always funny. Like, it's just it's just a cool experience, and we love it there.
Yeah, I am always humbled by my time in Thailand, because they genuinely are some of the nicest people like I've met in my life. I don't think I saw one sour face in all the time I was there. Well, actually, when I was there, I built a house. We did Habitat for Humanity, and we built a house for this guy. And he was telling me, he goes, "Oh, at the beginning, he goes, oh, I make like 6,000 baht, right? 6,000 baht is their local currency, as you know. And 6,000 baht is like, when you do with conversion, it's like maybe like $100 US, the 200 US. You know what I mean? It's like nothing. And I'm like, holy crap! I blew 6,000 baht in like 3 days. And I had nothing to show for it. It's not like I bought anything. I just ate or rented a scooter or something, whatever.
It's crazy what, in some areas of the world, like what people, sustain their lives on, compared to what we do here. And it makes you kind of, I think everyone that goes there, it kind of change, if you really like, embrace where you're traveling to and kind of try to take interest in the culture and the people, then that's the one place that I say people go, and it like does change you a little bit. And everyone that comes on our tour kind of, I would say 90% of people that come on our tour say the same thing. Like it does, kind of change people a little bit for the better, I think. And we always joke too, because we always say there's always one in every tour that like says they're not going home. And we have had a few people that have it, like they've stayed over there for like months afterwards, like they've changed their flight and not went home for like 2 or 3 months.
No,
so,
I said the exact same thing, and you know this. I mean, the only thing that's stopping probably you and I from living there is the fact that we're foreigners. We can't own land. That's the only reason why it stopped me from
Yeah, I
from
mean, you
staying there
can
for life.
you can still rent. You can rent housing there.
Right.
Um, and so like we own a business there now, and we can get like a visa through our business.
Okay.
But I always say like when we have a shop there, so our shop that we keep our bikes in has a two bedroom or two. It's a 2 bedroom apartment upstairs, and it's funny when we tell people like how much we pay a month for the shop. That it's always like kind of shocks people because it's got a nice, it's got a garage down below, a covered parking area out front, 2 bedrooms up top, we each with the ensuite, shower and bathroom, and we pay the equivalent of like $300 a month for it. So it's just like it's insanely like
It's
stupid
insanely.
cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, and the
So
place is nice. Like it's
yeah, I
clean.
mean it's nice
It's
enough.
modern.
It's nice enough, and we go there so we don't get a hotel, and we stay. We fly in, we have all our gear like stay. It's in our closets back in Thailand. And but I always do say like I'm there and I love being there, and usually after like I'm out like last year I was there for like a little over 2 months straight, and it's right around then I'm like okay I'm like ready to go home for a while and be back and have some of the conveniences you enjoy here in America, or some of the food. Like I love Thai food, but you cannot, it's pretty rare to find like a good burger in Thailand or like
McDonald's.
some of the things that you like. If you don't want Thai food every day, like that can get a little. If you're used to variety, like in America, we're all spoiled. We have like we have great food of any culture,
Ethnicity. Right.
yeah. And in Thailand, it's not so much.
No, I hear you. Have you had any like exotic or gnarly food in Thailand? Anytime you're like, oh,
Not really. I surprisingly not really in Thailand. I've eaten some bugs and stuff, but I don't think Thailand has like too many like I think like gnarly weird food. Like the weirdest food I ever had was in like Taiwan actually. Like I've had some weird. We had like I visited friends there years and years ago, and we were at some like night market near outside of Taipei, and like
right.
were trying to feed us all kinds of weird shit there. Like it was not. I was not having it.
Yeah. I think the I wouldn't call it strange, but the most exotic quote unquote food was in Thailand was deep fried stingray, and it tasted friggin' amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm saying to me that's like not weird. I guess
No
it's just
biggie, yeah.
it's like eating like octopus or squid or doesn't seem like like I think in Taiwan they were feeding me like duck neck or something like that or like
You know what? There's a delicacy that we Hong Kong people eat as well is the duck, the tongue.
yeah
So
yeah
so they hack up the head, they rip half of it, and they've got the bill and they've got the little tongue.
yeah. See, nothing compare like nothing in Thailand compares to like the markets in Hong Kong or China or Taiwan or anything.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
a whole different level. I
So,
can't. I don't go around it.
so surprisingly, like I mean, I don't want to gross people out, but the duck tongue actually is not that bad. It's actually
Yeah.
when done right, it's pretty good. You don't actually eat the tongue because the tongue is hard. If you don't even remember, there's out more like a bone kind of in the middle, and you kind of just chew off the outer bits, and it's a little bit chewy. But if I don't tell you it's tongue, it's fine.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like I'll try. Like if someone gives me something, I'll try anything. But I don't really go out of my way that often to try weird food unless feel like I'm being coerced.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's get back into Ohvale. What do you want to do with the bikes? Like, what is the next vision? What is the next big goal you have with the company?
So, trying to think of what I can talk about. I mean, overall, we want to grow the mini cup. We want to expand that next year. Like I want this year to, we want to focus on this year. Like that's, the main goal is make sure that the competitors that do come out to the races, have a good experience. We have a good product at the end of the day, and that people like it. And then next year expand, I think, to like maybe 5 rounds. 5 or 6,
Yeah.
and like we'd like to go to Barber is one track that's on the list of like tracks that we'd like to be at VIR, and then Ohvale also is bringing out the new 250. I don't know if you've seen that. It's like a collaboration with Aprilia.
Okay, no, haven't seen it.
So it's like basically like a um, it's not Moto 3 bike. It's like a pre-Moto 3 bike. So if you've seen like are you familiar with like the Asia Talent Cup or British Talent Cup where they ride? They use the Honda um, NSF 250s for those, and they're proper, really proper bike, nice bikes, and but it's a spec series where all the kids race on the same bike,
Right.
and so it creates close racing and allows kind of like same with the Ohvale, it allows like the talent to shine through as opposed to like well who has the best bike or the best motor or whatever.
Yeah.
So they brought this new bike and it's coming out this year, and they actually have a spec series in Italy with CIV, the national championship there with this bike, and Dorna's behind it. There's a lot of people that are pushing this platform, so we're really interested to speak with Moto America and kind of create what they have in Europe and Britain and Asia with like these talent cups over here in America, and have this as like a spec series as like a transition from Ohvales and mini cup, but like pre-junior cup. So maybe like ages 13 to 16 or something like that, like a defined age range where like you have these kids who are moving up through, because it still is going to be cheaper than junior cup. If you want to run at the front of junior cup, you're spending over 15 grand by the time you buy a new bike and build a bike. A lot of people, that's the one thing we've run into with the Ohvale is like when you want to talk about the cost to buy a bike and get racing, like the thing that people don't that people always want to compare it to is, oh well, I can go buy X bike for $2,000, and I'm like, well yeah, but you're comparing a used bike to a new bike, which isn't a fair comparison. So if you want to go race junior cup, yeah, you can go buy a used R3 or Ninja 400 that's already built for 6 or 7 grand. But if you want to buy a brand new bike, which is what like a team that wants to win will go out and buy a brand new bike and build it and get all the parts and everything, and it's an expensive ordeal by the time you're said and done. So these keep those costs a little bit lower, and the bikes are ready to go out of the box. Like people, parents don't have to go build them or figure out what to do or not to do on them. So it's the same concept as the Ohvale. It's a right out of the box, just get on and ride. So we want to introduce that in America, and I think that's like our next really like big project, is to figure out how that can happen. And that's kind of what I've been working on a little bit behind the scenes, and hopefully we can get people to embrace that too.
Yeah, that's amazing, because in this podcast, even though I've only done this is my 14th podcast, but one theme has come out is, why isn't motorcycle racing even more popular in the States? It seems like it's built for the American and Canadian, like the North American culture, right? It's fast, it's exciting, you get to interact with the racers. But I think what you're doing, especially with the Ohvale Mini Cup, is that you're nurturing the next level, the next group of kids, who are going to move up to the bigger bikes. And I think what you're doing is part of that success, is part of that formula for success moving forward. So how do we follow you and Ohvale and all that other good stuff on social media?
I mean, our social media is just Ohvale_USA for Instagram. I mean, Instagram is like our main, way that we kind of market and communicate. We have Facebook, which is just either Rise Moto or Ohvale USA. It's pretty easy to find us on either. If you just Google Ohvale, or Rise Moto. Like if you Google Ohvale and you're based in America, like your search results will come up, with us. So it's not too hard. So luckily we don't have to spend any money on search engine optimization, because we're the only ones. It's kind of nice, but yeah, I mean, that's another speaking of that, I mean, I've not really ever spent a dime on marketing. Like our social media has been organic, and people, we kind of have been able to create like this like community around Ohvale where people like to be involved with it, and that's why I like. The social media has kind of turned into more of like a sharing platform for me. So that way, like we have, in a year and 8 months now, we've we have almost 22,000 followers. We're actually almost past Ohvale's official Instagram account in followers. So I always joke with the manager there, and I tell her like, oh, like once I pass you guys, then what do you get? What do I get? Do I get a raise or what?
Exactly.
So,
No, totally.
but
Well,
yeah,
look,
people like
you
to be involved and get their pictures shared, and it's so we've kind of created like a good community around it.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I was just thinking, I wanted to say you are the Elon Musk of mini bikes, right? Because Elon Musk, yeah, because Elon Musk says I do not do any advertising. He goes, I don't spend a dime to advertise for Tesla, right? And the same thing with you. This is just grown organically. And again, like I said, I didn't know about Ohvale until I started doing the podcast, and I'm a big fan already, just of the bike itself,
Thanks.
the low cost and ownership. Right
Yeah.
now, what is like the wrench on those things? Are they pretty easy to?
Yeah, I mean that's another. You bring up a good point. As far as like ownership, like some people do compare, like, oh, well, if I could go buy an Ohvale for it cost me $7,000 or whatever, I can go buy a used R6 for that much, like a pretty decent like built R6. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's 100% totally true. But it really depends on what you're looking to do and get out of the investments. With Ohvale, like, yeah, the buy-in and again, you're comparing a new bike to a used bike, not a fair comparison. But if you still want to compare them, your cost of ownership in terms of track time is like outstanding. It's definitely like lower, like by far. Like it's a fraction of the cost of going out and riding an R6 on the track, or riding an Indy 300 or whatever it is, because you got to factor in like your cost of track time. Like you can go ride at most kart tracks for like $50 a day. Whereas, if you go ride at any big track for a track day, you're looking at 200, like $150 minimum,
Right.
easy.
That's
Forget
right.
about it. Usually, upwards of $200 now, and then you're looking at, your tires. You're looking at everything that goes along with riding a big bike. Like, you need, whether it's a trailer or a bigger pickup truck or whatever to take it. Then all the equipment that goes with having a big bike at the track. Whereas in a Ohvale, I mean, hell, you can fit it in the back of a Jeep, Cherokee, or even like a Volkswagen Golf, hatchback. You can fit it in anything. There's a guy in Arizona that owns one, and he puts it in the back of his Mercedes like sedan. So they fit. I mean, that was one of the concepts that Ohvale had, is like they want to just make it an easily accessible sport where like you don't need all this other crap to go and like enjoy like the feeling of road racing. So the overall cost of ownership to get like per hour on the track is, without a doubt, a fraction of the cost of riding an R6 or a Ninja 400 or any other bike. But you still get the same feeling. You still get the feeling of like riding a sport bike. Riding a miniaturized sport bike, a little miniaturized MotoGP bike.
Yeah, I definitely think this is the way to go, and I really look forward to following you and the racing and some of the personalities that are involved in the sport. And I wish you nothing but best of luck.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Appreciate that.
Maybe after the races are done, I'll get you back on the podcast and just talk about the racing series
Yeah.
and what that was like and what you're going to do next.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely hold me to that.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Brandon. I know it's late over there, so have a good night, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Eric.